A silent courtroom. The air thick with tension. A black woman dressed in an impeccable suit enters with the confidence of someone who knows she belongs there. But a police officer, blinded by prejudice, stops her. Ignoring her FBI badge, with a sneer, he snatches her identification, accuses her of forging it and, in front of a stunned crowd, attempts to handcuff her. What he doesn't know is that in just 7 minutes his world will crumble under the weight of the truth she holds. This is the story of Aaliyah Monroe, a federal agent who turned humiliation into an unforgettable comeback. Brace yourself, because what's coming next will leave you breathless. It was a Thursday morning in a St. Louis courtroom. The air felt dense, as if the marble walls held the secrets of years of injustice. Aaliyah Monroe, 37, entered courtroom 4B with firm steps. Her perfectly tailored black suit whispered authority. In her hand, a brown leather briefcase held a USB device containing evidence that could set the system ablaze: recordings, testimonies, and videos exposing police corruption. That day she wasn't just a witness. She was the spark that would ignite a hidden truth. Aaliyah had grown up in Birmingham, Alabama, where silent strength was learned on kitchen floors and sidewalks, not in classrooms. Her mother worked double shifts at a hospital, and her father disappeared before she turned 12. Aaliyah learned to walk with her head held high even when suspicious glances followed her. By 15, she had memorized the rules. Don't make noise, stay alert, always keep your ID visible. This resilience carried her to the FBI, not through connections but through an iron will that made her stand out in a world that constantly underestimated her. But that Thursday morning, as she approached the courthouse security checkpoint, an officer stopped her. Brent Halverson, a middle-aged white man with 20 years on the force, looked at her with disdain. Her FBI badge, presented clearly, was ignored. "That's fake," Halverson growled, blocking her path. Without listening to her, without verifying her identity, he grabbed her arm, twisting it behind her back. The sound of the cuffs snapping shut echoed in the courtroom, silencing the crowd, the judge, the lawyers, the reporters. Everyone watched. No one intervened. Aaliyah, her cheek pressed against the wooden railing, felt a fury that burned hotter than fear. She wasn't just a federal agent. She was the lead investigator in a case exposing a network of corrupt officers, including Halverson. In her briefcase, now on the floor, were the very pieces of evidence that would destroy him: recordings of him ordering falsified reports, intimidating witnesses, and attacking minorities. But he didn't know that. "Where did you get this badge? Did you steal it?" Halverson mocked, holding her ID as though it were a joke. A couple of officers laughed, but the crowd didn't. The air grew thick, as if a storm was about to break. But on her knees, Aaliyah whispered, "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." He laughed, tightening the cuffs, thinking he'd silenced her. He couldn't have been more wrong. In a detention room, Aaliyah sat, the red marks of the cuffs still visible on her wrists. A young officer offered her water, murmuring an apology. She didn't respond. She didn't need compassion. She needed clarity. What had just happened wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a revelation of how little the system had changed. Even with a badge, a title, and a truth in her hands, she was still reduced to a stereotype in seconds. Outside the courthouse buzzed. Reporters captured snippets of the incident on video. Photos circulated online. The judge paused the session, but everyone knew why. The woman who was supposed to testify had been humiliated in front of the very man she came to expose. But Aaliyah returned to court. Her testimony was still scheduled. The atmosphere had changed. Eyes followed her, phones recorded in silence, and even the court reporter hesitated over the keys. When Aaliyah took the stand, her voice cut through the silence like a blade. "For the past 7 months, I have led an undercover investigation into coordinated misconduct in the St. Louis Police Department," she began, pulling out a USB device and pointing to the projector screen. The evidence included recordings, falsified reports, and altered body camera footage showing a pattern of racial profiling and procedural violations. The courtroom froze. Aaliyah played a recording, the unmistakable voice of Halverson ordering another officer to fabricate charges against a young black man arrested without cause. The young man's mother, sitting in the audience, silently wept. Aaliyah continued, relentless. "I have 12 more recordings, all linked to detentions of black citizens under 30, all dismissed for lack of evidence. The pattern is clear, the intent undeniable." Halverson, sweating frantically, whispered to his lawyer. His arrogance faded with every word Aaliyah spoke. When the prosecutor asked if she could identify the officer who had intimidated her 3 weeks earlier, she answered without hesitation, "Officer Brent Halverson." The judge, his face tense, confirmed, the same officer involved in the morning's incident. Aaliyah nodded. Yes, Your Honor. That's why I request that the rest of my testimony be protected under federal privilege. I believe my safety is at risk. The judge agreed, and the atmosphere in the courtroom shifted. Halverson was no longer a figure of authority. He was a name on a file, a voice on a tape, a badge turned into a weapon. The next day, Aaliyah returned to the courtroom in the same suit, the same briefcase, but with a different energy. The reporters had tripled. Cameras flooded the scene, and the entire city was watching. Halverson entered, disheveled, chewing gum to hide his nerves. His confidence had evaporated. Aaliyah, however, was ready to close the circle. The judge announced a federal motion to declassify new files. Aaliyah took the floor. I filed an emergency motion this morning, authorized by my FBI supervisor. It includes the declassification of new evidence and a request for immediate disciplinary action against Officer Brent Halverson. She pulled out a second USB device marked with red tape. It contained 26 minutes of audio from a confidential source who worked under Halverson's orders, detailing instructions to manipulate reports, pressure subordinate officers, and silence citizens. Halverson screamed, "This is a lie. It's a setup." But Aaliyah didn't flinch. "Would you like to explain what you meant when you said I'm untouchable? I have the whole system in my pocket?" she asked. "That's your voice on the tape, isn't it, officer?" The judge allowed her to continue. Aaliyah played a video, Halverson in a dark parking lot, handing over a file with altered statements. His frozen face on the screen was a silent condemnation. "Your Honor, we request the immediate detention of Officer Brent Halverson for obstruction of justice and conspiracy to interfere with a federal investigation," Aaliyah stated. The judge, his face grim, ordered, "Sheriff, arrest Officer Halverson." Incredibly, Halverson stammered, "You believe her, not me?" But no one defended him. The cuffs snapped on his wrists, the echo serving as a final punctuation. Aaliyah stepped close enough for him to hear, "You didn't think I'd have a last word, did you?" The case didn't end with Halverson. Aaliyah, alongside her attorney Natalie and a remorseful officer Daniel Ruiz, uncovered a corruption ring that stretched beyond St. Louis. They reopened a 5-year-old case involving a young officer who had tried to expose abuse and was found dead, officially a suicide, but with inconsistencies pointing to murder. That case led to the investigation, and Monroe, a federal force, exposed systemic patterns of abuse nationwide. Ruiz testified publicly, inspiring reforms and whistleblower protections. Natalie became an unstoppable force in court. Halverson was convicted on multiple charges. His fall became a symbol that no one is above the law. Aaliyah, promoted to a senior position in the FBI, rewrote policies and trained a new generation of agents. But she never forgot the cost, the sleepless nights, the threats, the glances that followed her. One afternoon in Birmingham, sitting in her mother's house, Aaliyah touched an old photo of her father. Her mother, tears in her eyes, said, "He'd be proud of you." Aaliyah didn't respond, but for the first time in years, she took a deep breath, letting the weight lighten, if only for a moment. This is not just Aaliyah's story. It's a call to all of us. What would you do if the system tried to silence you? Would you speak out even when it was uncomfortable? Would you listen to those who finally find the courage to break their silence? Justice doesn't come with applause or trophies. It comes with scars, sleepless nights, and the simple, radical act of doing what's right over and over again. Aaliyah showed us that one voice can change everything. Now it's your turn. Share in the comments what you would have done in her place. What does this story mean to you? Subscribe for more stories that transform pain into purpose.